It's going to be a different story, isn't it?
Hello, everyone. Again, we apologize for the technical issues. We are so excited. My Radiate family and I are happy to have our special guest, Patricia Marie LeClair, here tonight. She's going to share with us her wisdom. She has been studying many cultures and spiritual practices and healing modalities, and she found the connectedness of all of the ancient teaching and tradition. And then she came across the work of Master Sha, and she was able to recognize that all is all connected as one. And through this teaching and this wisdom, Patty is able to help people healed and transform their life through having an open heart, mind, and body. And so we would love to hear more about her journey and how she has helped to transform others through the wisdom that she had acquired. Welcome, Patty.
Welcome, Dr. Judy. I'm happy to be here.
We're so happy to have you. So can you share with us your journey as to becoming this amazing transformational coach?
Would you like me to start at the beginning or towards the end?
Yes, the beginning.
Well, okay, when we started before, I started with Master Sha, but I've actually studied quite a bit with different, like polarity, body talk, different methods and modalities that I've studied over the years. And I've also been connected with the Native community in some of their practices, which are varied and very ancient. So it was in 2012 when my mother had passed away and I was not doing very well. And I'd actually had a healing from a friend through connecting with some of Master Sha's teachings. And so then somebody had honored me with a guest pass for one of his opening your spiritual channels. And that was when my eyes were really, truly open to how much we can connect on the soul world. Because I was raised in a formalized religion and it never connected me to the divine or the source, the creator, or anything else until, I don't know, I think it was through the Native community that I realized that when you prayed, you can actually pray through your heart. And those were some opening of my channels, was realizing that we can actually connect to the divine realms through our hearts. But what Master Sha presented to us was beyond anything that I had known before. And one of them was through the soul language, through interpretation of the soul language, through just opening up your own spiritual channels to connect one by one. But the biggest one was your connection to your own soul. And in your connection to your soul, that is where the healing actually begins, is through the connection to the soul, to be able to raise the frequency of your own soul, to remove soul, mind, body blockages through forgiveness, through compassion, through light, and many other different things. So that's what I've been dealing with, are some of the treasures that I have and many practices that Master Sha has offered for us through teachings.
That is so awesome. Through the spiritual connections that you have mentioned, the religion that you have grown up with, and now that you're able to tap into the understanding how you can connect to your higher aspect of self, what was the most significant aspect that allow you to realize that going through, as you mentioned, through the heart and connecting with the higher aspect, what kind of information did you receive?
Wow. Boy, there's so many different messages. I can't think of something specific. Maybe I can give you an example a little bit later. I'm just not thinking of any one particular thing, because depending on who you're connecting with, usually when I connect, I don't always have someone specific, but I usually pick a higher level soul. I've connected with Jesus, with Kuan Yin, many different souls that are very powerful. The divine, a lot of times we have our own heavens teams that are with us all the time. And so when you connect with these souls, it's very good just to get whatever guidance you can. You know, guidance for other people is really helpful also. It's so important to be able to carry a message that really connects with your own soul and your heart, because those are the guidances that will carry you through. And you can, it's the type of thing that really brings a sense of peace to your own heart to hear these messages. It really just fully opens your heart when you hear some of them.
Now, did you just, as you through your practice, immediately connect to the higher spiritual energy, or did it take time? And what kind of ritual did you have to go through in order for you to connect? And when you connect, how do you know that you're actually connecting with the higher aspect of the spirit realm?
You feel it in your message center, which is your heart chakra. Basically, that's one of the main connections, and you'll feel just a lightness, but it's almost like you go into a certain, I can't really call it I guess it's like a zone. You just know when you're there. But just so many ways. The only way that's really been beneficial to me was connecting up with Master Sha, because there are so many ways that he offers blessings to raise your frequency. And that's the important part, is that I think we're all connected, but what we have are blockages. And so they keep us from connecting in the way that we should with our own soul and with the soul world. And so through forgiveness practices, through practicing communicating, and just having trust and belief in an open heart, most of what I've gotten is just through Master Sha, through his blessings and clearings that I've had, that's actually allowed me to open my channels. And so I'm still working on them also.
So when you say it's opening your channel, your ability to sense, your ability to feel the messages, intuitions?
Yes. And also at different levels, different, because, you know, everything has levels to it, including heaven and all the other aspects. There's many, many levels and many things you can connect with. And all you're doing is removing the veils, really, to each and every one of them. And also your, you know, I guess you'd call it your soul standing, or anything else that people have. You know, we're all spiritual beings.
Wonderful. So I noticed that you shared with us on our conversation earlier how your wisdom learning through different teachings in the past and now integrating Master Sha's work has allowed you to be able to help others that are going through some difficult challenges in their life. Can you share some of those stories with us?
I think a lot of what I've done that's really important is probably bringing people to doing forgiveness, to opening their own heart and connecting. You know, there's many ways. If you look at the soul, what's happening is trying to raise the frequency of the soul. Because each one of us is born into this world in a way that we carry certain amount of things that we might have to atone for. And there's always going to be a challenge for each and every person. And it's going to be different for everybody. And to acknowledge everything that's in front of you and to look at everything as a blessing and to honor it with gratitude. I think we were talking a lot even about what you'd done. And those teachings are so important in being able to let go of a lot of things. Master Sha has created what he calls the 10 Daws, or what we call the greatest, for the greatest love, gratitude, forgiveness, compassion, light, and harmony. What all of these things do is they bring teachings to you to be able to practice just by chanting and by contributing mantras, which are a higher level frequency, by using forgiveness, which creates an atmosphere of just allowing whatever souls that need to have forgiveness to leave you, so that you're well, I'm fumbling here. I'm a little nervous, excuse me. This is the first time I've been on this show.
You're doing a great job. Yeah.
But it's amazing what happens when you have forgiveness. If you have a situation or something that is not quite right, and doing forgiveness and showing appreciation and gratitude, and then letting go with some things, how things can just release. Blockages you've had in your life, whether they be fears or emotional blockages, physical, anything else. And even if something takes a long time, you can let it go. I can't say enough about the transmissions that Master Sha has delivered to myself and all of humanity. There's many different things that he's got, either through his CDs, Love, Peace, and Harmony, or the books. Things like this calligraphy behind me. That's one of the most powerful healing tools that we have right now for healing people. Because when you're doing this, as you're doing it, you're actually changing and uplifting the frequency of your own body. Just as you have a different scale of frequency, the difference between anger and love, the level of frequency is totally different. And so what you're doing with different methods is you're actually increasing that frequency. And that's, raising a lot of your own soul standing while you're doing it.
Yeah, it's true when you're talking about frequency, is that those people who have a lot of grief, sadness, they sure don't recognize that they're vibrating at a lower frequency, so they're not able to connect with their higher aspect. And as you're able to raise your vibrational energy to the frequency of joy and happiness and harmony, that allows you to connect to your higher aspect of yourself and connect to your heavens team, like you said earlier. And I'm very interested in how you're able to raise your vibrational energy and also help people who are going through some hardship. Like you were sharing with me, a young lady who was on her way to Mexico and had a knee injury. You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I had one of my students. She went to Costa Rica for her birthing, and it was a very steep incline. She was stepping down, and I guess her whole leg threw out behind her. And she said she was in absolute pain, couldn't even get up for a half an hour. She said she was sitting there on the ground just holding her leg because she said she knew she'd really damaged it. And she sent me a text right away and asked for help. And so I checked my guidance and I decided to do a calligraphy tracing for her. And it told me to do it 3 times during the day. So I got out one of the, I have a very powerful calligraphy that I've acquired. And I did a tracing for, I don't know, half an hour or something like that for her. And then I waited a few hours and I did another one for another half an hour to an hour. And then I did another one later on in the night. And she said after, she said she could tell when something happened because she'd been able to stand up, but she said she couldn't hardly walk. And then everybody was noticing that she was crippled. And then after a little bit, she said she went and laid down. And then when she awoke, she said her knee was fine and she could stand on it. She said it felt like it had some pressure on it, but she said all the pain was gone. There was no real swelling that she was experiencing before. And then she, a few hours later, I think she sat down, but she said after the next morning, she said she couldn't even tell anything had happened to her leg.
Wow.
And I know what she did sounded like it was really severe. And I don't think you would have gotten over that pain very quickly.
Wow. Now, with the calligraphy tracing, was there a protocol, or did you just kind of have an intuition to do the tracing on a needed basis, to depending on the individual situations?
I checked with guidance. I check with my own. That's one of the things about connecting and checking with guidance to find out if that would have been the best method. And the other one is I have there again many downloads and have gone to many calligraphy courses that Master Sha has had. So I'm still in the process of becoming fully certified, but the treasures that are within some of these calligraphies that he has are invaluable. There's many Dao Chongs across the world, which means a Dao field, a very high frequency field that he's created through these calligraphies. And there's 8 locations across the world, or the centers that he has. And I know if people can ever make them into these calligraphy Dao Chongs, they're very, very powerful. And I know they're advertised on through the Dr. Sha website, where you can actually connect to them online, like what we're doing now. And there's many tracing practices and demonstrations that they have through the websites.
Mm-hmm.
They've had some amazing healings with these. And even for people, you talk about raising the frequency. He's done it for people where you can just get these cards. And this one's Datsa Bay, the greatest compassion. And these are the calligraphy cards that he's created for people. And just tracing these calligraphy cards alone can raise your frequency. And that's what he suggests to people, is if they have chronic conditions, to practice tracing with them for a few hours a day.
Mm.
Because as you're tracing this, what you're doing is you're replacing your negative mindsets, attitudes, and beliefs with this high level frequency.
That's awesome. And how were people are able to find or have access to these calligraphy?
Well, depending on which you're talking about.
The one that you just had, this card size.
Sometimes you can get them at retreats. Sometimes you can order some online, and any center will have them, and usually itself will have them have access.
Your mic is off there.
Okay.
It likes to turn your mic off. Today we're just having some technical challenges. You're still off, Patty. Is there any way that you can turn your mic back on? Patty?
Okay, it's on. It kept saying it was unmuted by host, and maybe I was fighting with you.
So I see that big calligraphy behind you there. What does it say, and what's the blessing?
This one's Da Guang Ming, which means the greatest light. It's connected with the first soul house, actually.
Oh,
so it's very powerful. Very powerful calligraphy.
So with this calligraphy, when you say that it's connected to the first soul house, anyone who has blockages in their first chakra or issues, which is the foundations, they can call you up and say, can you help me? And then what you would do is trace the calligraphy for them?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I'd actually invoke many treasures that I have along with that, and then trace this, invoke the treasures in the calligraphy.
And how long of a session would that be?
Go by guidance. Everybody's different. But the important part about any teaching, as we talked before, remember when I was telling you about the book that I read?
Yeah, share with the listener a little bit about that.
Should I just read it, or?
Well, why don't you prep everybody and then read it?
It was a book that I read by Nan Lu, and it was a natural guide to weight loss, which I haven't read and applied the book yet. But when I found this book and it was used, and I had it stuck in a place where I hadn't seen it for a long time, and I was sitting next to a bookshelf, and for some reason my hand reached out and I grabbed this book and I look at it and it says The Dragon's Way, and I went, oh, what's this all about? And the first page I opened it up to, he's talking about Qigong masters. And he said that if you were a Qigong student, that there were two methods that you could learn by. One of them was to learn all the practices and each step to perfection, and you'd have to master each posture, each movement. And then he goes on to say, and then there's another way. If you have another Qigong master, you can have somebody that will, you don't have to know all the movements so well, because this Qigong master can deliver the method through either a song, through calligraphy, an art, through different treasures, objects. And so when I read this, I understood completely what they were talking about. This was Master Sha. And so then I understood more what he's able to do. But the part that was really interesting is after reading this, it said, but very, very rarely will you ever run across a Qigong master like this, which Master Sha is a Qigong master, by the way. And he says, it's very rare that you'll ever run across an individual like this. But then even if he does, he can only offer these to a student with an open heart and mind. So what it's telling you is that if you don't have an open heart and an open mind, no matter what you do, it's not really going to make the dramatic difference that you're going to expect or find if your heart is open.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you have to have a certain openness and belief in something to be able to accept it. Otherwise, you're just totally shut off.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that you are saying that Master Sha is not only a Qigong master, but he's all of the Chinese traditional Tai Chi, Feng Shui,
Yes.
acupuncture. It's just amazing. And he gives so much to the students, to those who are willing to learn. And all of this knowledge and wisdom are out there. But a lot of people don't really understand that. But the book that you're saying, you know, if you'll look at the Chinese tradition, to find a master who's willing to accept you as a student, you'll have to be really, really good. And like you said, they have to look into your heart and soul to see what type of person you are in order for them to pass that wisdom, because it could be taken into the wrong hand and it could be misused. Yes. So they're very, very selective as a students, but he is just providing an abundance of wisdom.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so that's
it. Yeah, the world will find out more
Hey,
as we go along. What?
Hey, Patty.
Yes.
What is, since I actually have a little inside information on this, why don't you talk about some of the stuff going on your property as well? Because that's been helping you out quite a lot in conjunction with Master Sha.
Well, you're probably more of one that would know about what's going on in this property than I would.
Let's hear it from your words, though. You live there. I just visit. You've had some really great experiences, so I think they should hear those too.
Oh, are you talking about the things like when we went down the pasture?
Mm-hmm. The pastures, the water dragons.
The vortex.
Yep.
Well, the vortex was kind of interesting. John came out and helped me clear some things on this property because my dog wouldn't let me sleep at night. It went on for quite a few months. And then I lost a horse on the property. It's a little miniature. So I went looking for it one day and found out that there was an area back there that would almost make me drop to my knees when I walked through it. And I went to a retreat in Belgium and I asked somebody about that. And I said, what's going on? You know, I told him the whole story, and it was one of the higher level teachers there. And he goes, well, how do you feel about darkness crawling all over you? I said, what? And he said that there was a lot of dark entities back there, or at least he found some, or that's what he was seeing. A very unique, he said it was a very large horse-like entity. And so one of my students introduced me to John and brought him out here, and that was when things started to well, a lot of doors started opening then. But I'd gone through that area and chanted, and I prayed, and I'd smudged, and I'd sang and did everything, and I could feel that it was a little bit better than it was. But it wasn't until John came out there that we found out how much was on this property. Probably let him tell most of it, but there are a few unique areas that he said. One of them is he took me to one of the vortexes. This is going to get difficult with a barking dog, isn't it? She's excited. And I think when I went back there, I started doing my soul language at the edge of this one vortex he was talking about. And that was when John was telling me that there were several different Indian maidens on either side of me, like a dozen of them all together, you know, and they were all chanting with me back there. But, then the other vortex we went to never was one that John saw some things that were really unique, but what I saw was it felt like I actually pushed a huge block. I don't know, it's hard to describe, but for some reason I went into kind of a meditative state, and there was this huge concrete block, or it was a stone block that I pushed off metaphysically off of this area. And that was when John said it opened up this whole, the vortex was, what you call it, an inverted vortex, I believe it was. And for some reason, I noticed my hands were fixed to the sky as kind of like a satellite dish and a receiver. And I was doing some type of a chant. And when in my third eye, I was seeing all of these images down on top of this stone. It almost looked like a medicine wheel. There's an awful lot going on between the connection between this vortex and a star up in the sky up there. It was kind of like sending up gold and bringing it down. These are some of the messages that I've written down later, but what was really interesting was what John saw when I was doing my soul language there. He was seeing all types of stuff, and that's when he was opening up all the channels and doorways. There's spirit paths down here for some of the ancient ones, and I don't know. John wants to tell you more. He was telling me that this property's been taken away and pulled back. Like the whole property has gone someplace and come back. I can't hear you.
Patty has a whole lot of tunnels on her property as well. And the vortexes are really cool, but these tunnels go to all parts of the world and to other universes. And she has dragons that are using these tunnels to get to various places and various worlds. And I noticed the first few times I came out, she had her energies were a little bit shaky, but the more that she started working with, not only I noticed that she got more and more back into her meditations with Master Sha, but the dragons started to help her amplify it, and that's their main goal for her, is to help her incorporate all of the various energies that she has to do healing with. And it's fun to watch her when she goes into a flow on her property in comparison to somewhere else. On her property, it is so smooth and so there's no stops, there's no staggering. The only pauses are the ones for dramatics, or where she's actually listening to what is being told to her. But when she's doing it, like during her classes, she's easily distracted, and it's like the messages don't come clear and smooth enough for her. But I noticed also that she's been getting stronger and stronger lately, and I think that's because she's finally getting her confidence to step outside of the box. That's what I've been seeing anyhow. But her property is phenomenal. There's a lot of great energies. She has an entity in one of her trees, living in one of her trees, that adores children, but she can't leave that area. So she's asks for children to come to visit. But yeah. And I don't think that it's a coincidence that Patty's family had found that property and have lived on that property for so long. I think that they've been in stewardship of this property in numerous lifetimes. That's what I can throw out.
That's amazing to have such an energy field that you can connect with, and you can continue to advance your spiritual journey. Patty, what I'm intrigued about is that you're taking all the wisdom that you've learned from all the previous teachers and masters, and now is taking that wisdom and helping those who are beginning to just start their spiritual journey and helping them move into a space where they can feel connected to the higher aspect of the spiritual heavens team. And through that guidance, I want you to share another story that you shared with me, was how you were able to help a man who had like a 2,000-pound medal fell on his hand. You want to unmic yourself? Unmute?
That was just one where I really hadn't even talked to the individual. He had his hand. I worked in an industrial area, and he had his hand up between two plates, and they had 2,000-pound hydraulic pressure. And when it let loose, I don't know how many thousands of pounds probably came down along with it, but it cut the palm of his hand. And I didn't see it at the time. I just knew it was really bad because the emergency people brought him down into this shop area. I couldn't see him, but what I did was I just turned on some of my treasures, and I kind of stood off to the side, and I started tracing for him. And about a week or a week and a half later, he was back at work, because I'd seen a picture of this that somebody took when he went to the emergency room, and he had a gash that was probably about 2 to 3 inches long in the palm of his hand. It was probably about 3/4 of an inch deep. It was a huge crevasse, and it looked like it should have probably taken stitches and quite a few other things. But when he came back to work, my mouth kind of fell open because I couldn't believe he was back at work. And he showed me his palm, and it was almost, there was no stitches. They just wrapped it up in gauze, but it was hardly even, it really wasn't very bad. It was almost about half healed in that week and a half time. And I know something wouldn't have healed that quickly. It was one of those things where you're standing by the wayside and you're just tracing and chanting for somebody, and it's amazing tools that can happen.
All the power of belief, right?
Yeah.
That you know that you can help others.
Yes.
So and now the group, I haven't noticed, but you are going to offer them a brief whatever comes through from your guidance for the group, a demo, or?
Sure. How much time do we have?
We got a good 15 minutes.
Okay, maybe I'll give you a few readings too along with it. So if everybody can just sit up, and probably the important part is to open your heart and soul. Close your eyes and center yourself. And if you can, just do a very short forgiveness practice to all the souls that you may have hurt or harmed in all lifetimes, or anything your ancestors may have done to hurt or harm you, or you harming or hurting anyone else. Ask for forgiveness. And give forgiveness to any soul that may have hurt or harmed you in any way. Give unconditional forgiveness and love. If each one of you could think of something you'd like a blessing for, that would help, if there's something. So. Okay. I'm just going to turn on one of my treasures here. Let me connect. This will be a silent blessing with a barking dog. I'm going to mute myself because the dog's barking in just a moment. So. Begins. Blessing ends. How. Thank you, dear God. Oh,
Wow. That was a very beautiful blessing. I was asking for someone else, but I myself is also receiving the blessing.
yeah.
It's very deep. Thank you so much.
Felt like there was quite a bit going through to different people. Felt like there was a lot that wanted to go through to Scott for some
Yes, thank
reason.
you, Patty.
Well, thank the divine. It wasn't
felt
me.
that.
You know, that's one of the things about it. It's not really me. It's I remember I think it was Fool's Crow described what it was like to give a blessing, and you're really just channeling a blessing down from the, you know, the source, creator, divine, however you want to look at it. But you're just creating yourself as a hollow bone and just allowing things to flow through. So, I mean, it's not me that's doing anything. I don't have that. You know, that's not part of me. It's just a matter of asking and, you know, asking what's appropriate, and depending on how people's hearts open or what's decided is up to, you know, the spiritual realm to deliver, or what they want to deliver, how much, and, you know, how open your heart is. So would you like me to do a flow for you, or a reading for you, Judy?
Sure.
Oh,
What were you asking?
I was just wondering if anybody wanted a reading for what happened with the blessing.
Oh yeah, my issue was for a blessing for my home and for my children, and for less of a roller coaster in life right at the moment, because we've had a lot of high energy, you know, but at the same time, you know, when we have challenges, then it's easy to see how you're blessed.
Yes.
So,
That was why Patty said that a lot of that went to you, Scott. Is that correct, Patty?
Yeah, just if,
yeah,
well,
for your,
it almost felt like there was a surge trying to come through.
yeah.
I don't.
Well, it's a wild and crazy world. We're all in need of more blessings, more strength, more courage.
Yeah.
So, Scott, are you open for Patty to do a flow live, or do you want to do it privately?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you too well.
We
Do
don't
you
have,
want Patty to share with you the flow, the information that was coming through for you?
Oh, sure.
okay. Dear one, this blessing that you have received has been most profound, for there were several entities that have been surrounding you that have not been of the highest frequency. This blessing brought very much light into your atmosphere and your surroundings, but it also added an element of protection for you and your family. There is a light wall that has been created surrounding your area. This will provide some resistance to some of the negative energies that have been affecting you in many ways. We would also like to let you know of the existence of something very unique on your ground that you have not witnessed yet. There are 3 souls that have been traveling in and out from different dimensions, and they are in need of communication with you and some of your immediate family. There is information that they have for you that they will deliver to you when you are open and ready to receive. How? Thank you. Well, that's a little different than anything I've ever given a reading for.
Very interesting.
I've never heard of them offering. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Patty have an amazing ability to do the flow, or what you consider as channeling. And I know we're at the top of the hour, but would you like to do another one, and then close it, Patty? How do you feel?
Okay, would somebody else like one, or did you want one, Judy? Or
Well, I want to get the panel an opportunity to.
Okay.
Lynn or Jung, do you guys want her to do a flow? Okay.
It's Vivian.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dear daughter, heaven, this is Kuan Yin speaking. Heaven has held you in very high regard. Today they have given you a blessing that has provided a higher level of soul standing to you. This is not something that usually happens in a blessing, that there is something within your heart that needs a higher level to open your heart to further development. You have many qualities that many souls are here to receive. It is with great trepidation that I say that your soul is very honorable, and many are here to witness what has happened today. For you have been given a blessing that has given you precious gifts. It is through these that you will be able to honor more souls, for there are certain things that you are carrying within you to offer healings to other souls. You have been a very high-level soul in many lifetimes, and this one is no different than many. It is through this that you will learn to honor yourself and other souls in a very high way. You will grace many with your beloved soul. You have much to learn, and there will be many, many teachings coming to you soon. Your heart has been opened, your soul has been uplifted, and you are very honored today. I love you with all my heart and soul. I am with you always. How? Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know why, but that one was really starting to open my heart before I even got started.
Thank you, Patty. That was very touching.
Patty have an amazing gift to our viewers who are listening and is going through some life challenges. And it's if you are ever wondering where you are or want to connect to your higher self, reach out to Patty. We're going to ask her to give her information. But if you're looking for life transformations, you can see within our group, just a brief flow that she's been sharing with our group are very in-depth and are very accurate. I know she gave me one earlier, and it's just blown away. If you are not into that or understand a lot of it, reach out to Patty. She can guide you to really have an open mind, open heart, so that way you can connect to your higher aspect, and she can walk you through step by step. Patty have a class every week in Eugene, Oregon, and I'll have Patty share some more how to reach her, and if you're in Oregon, how to attend her class. Patty?
It's actually in Springfield.
Springfield.
There's only a freeway dividing the two. So it's on Fridays at the Willamette Adult Activity Center on Fridays from 2 to 3:30. And so do you want me to give the rest of my information now?
Yeah, how can they reach you for the service that you offer, and what kind of service do you offer?
That would all depend on the person and what they need. You know, I mean, that will still be my guidance because each individual is different.
Right.
My phone number is 541-915-1094. And it's just Patty, PATTY.LECLAIR@gmail.com.
Okay. Give the phone number one more time slowly. 541-915-1094. Wonderful. So as you can see how amazing Patty is as a life transformational coach. She has so much wisdom from the ancient teachings to the indigenous to Master Sha's work. And you can see the flow that she's able to channel and give you guidance. Do reach out to her. She is an amazing teacher as well. And if you're in Springfield,
yes.
Go to her class because it is so amazing to learn from them and amazing the wisdom that she has to share. And her students love her. So we thank you everyone for tuning in with us every week. And again, we apologize for the technical difficulties. We know the energies are battling with us to bring forth these information. So if you enjoy our program, please do subscribe, click likes, and share. And let us know how we are doing and what do you like us to bring, what type of speakers and topics that you want us to bring. Until next time, we love you all. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye for now.